Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. We're cracking open the Coaching Fundamentals Handbook today. I gotta say, this thing is way more in-depth than I expected.
Yeah, it's not just your average coaching manual. This is like the encyclopedia of movement.
Mm.
We're talking about really understanding the nuts and bolts of how the body
And
moves.
why it matters. It's like having
Yeah.
X-ray vision, right? Seeing those little details that make all the difference. They call them cheat sheets in the book, and honestly, they live up to the name. I'm already thinking about how many times I'm going to reference this thing when I'm coaching.
Oh, for sure. Remember that time we were talking about teaching proper push-up form? Imagine having this handbook back then. It breaks down each movement into these clear steps, no more guessing games.
Exactly, but it goes beyond just do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's all about building a solid foundation, right?
Absolutely. Like you can't build a house on sand, right? You need that strong base. And that's what the handbook calls foundational movements. Think air squats, planks, the basics. Master those, and you're golden.
Like learning your ABCs before you write a novel. Okay, but here's where it gets really cool. The handbook doesn't just tell you what good form looks like. It shows you how to spot and correct the common mistakes. Those seeing and correcting tips are pure gold.
That's the mark of a great coach, having that eye for detail, catching those tiny things that can make or break someone's form and potentially save them from some serious pain down the road.
Let's dive into that a bit, especially with a movement we all think we've mastered. The air squat. I mean, it's just squatting down and standing upright. Well, this handbook made me rethink everything.
Right. It's not as simple as it looks. Take knee valgus, for example, when someone's knees collapse inward. That's a recipe for knee pain if I've ever seen one, and it often stems from weak hip abductors.
So it's like weak hips lead to wonky knees, a chain reaction.
Exactly. And the handbook really emphasizes understanding these connections. Like it's not just about telling someone to fix their knees, it's about understanding why it's happening and addressing the root cause.
So how do we see this knee valgus in action? And how do we correct it?
Yeah.
I'm ready to put on my coaching hat.
Well, the handbook talks about observing things like foot position, hip movement, even where their gaze is directed. For example, if their feet are turned out but their knees are caving in, that's a pretty good indicator something's up.
And when we're talking about correcting that knee valgus,
Mhm.
what about coaching cues? Sometimes I feel like what I'm saying just isn't getting through.
Oh, I hear you. It's like you're speaking a different language sometimes. But the handbook, it stresses keeping those cues clear, simple. Like instead of hitting them with the anatomy lesson right in the middle of a workout, just a simple knees out.
So simple, but it makes you think about what you're doing.
Exactly. It's like that light bulb moment. You're not just telling them what to do, you're helping them understand their body.
So important. And one thing I really appreciate about this handbook is that it gets that not everyone's starting at the same place. They have a whole section on scaling and progressions.
Right. It's like we can't all just jump into a pistol squat on day one.
No way. So how does the handbook make these workouts, accessible for everyone?
Well, they're big on making it clear that scaling isn't a bad thing. It's not a punishment. It's about meeting people where they are, giving them a way to progress safely. Like, you wouldn't hand someone a 100-pound barbell and say, all right, let's go, if they've never lifted before.
Definitely not. Baby steps, right?
Exactly. Find that sweet spot, challenging, but doable. And the handbook's got tons of examples, like they break down the kipping pull-up progression, which, let's be real, those can be intimidating.
Oh, tell me about it. When I was learning those, it felt like I was more flailing than flying for a while there.
Totally. But they break it down so well. Mastering that kip, then bringing in the arm pull, and that push away from the bar to reset. Even just looking at the pictures makes it so much clearer.
It's like they're saying, hey, you got this, just follow the steps. And what really surprised me? The handbook even gets into the whole coach-athlete relationship side of things.
Right.
That's not something every coaching manual addresses.
It's so important though, right? You think back to those coaches who really impacted you. It wasn't always just because they knew their stuff, right?
No way. It was how they made you feel.
Yeah.
Supported, but also challenged to push yourself. Like they saw your potential, even when you didn't.
Exactly. And that's what the handbook's getting at. Coaching isn't just programming workouts. It's about building that connection, listening to your athletes, celebrating their wins with them. They even talk about setting smart goals.
Right, because get stronger. That's not exactly helpful, is it? So how does the handbook recommend approaching goal setting with your athletes? Okay, remind me again what SMART stands for. I feel like I always mix up the letters.
Don't worry, happens to the best of us. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. It seems so straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many people miss the mark with vague goals like, I want to be fitter.
I was like saying, I want to go on a vacation. Well, where? When?
Yeah.
Pack your bags already.
Exactly. A SMART goal would be more like, I want to do 5 strict pull-ups in 3 months. See? Specific target, a way to track progress, a deadline to keep you accountable.
And that applies to anything, not just fitness.
Absolutely. But it gets better. The handbook even has this whole template for assessing training sessions. They lay out these 6 criteria for effective training, and I gotta say, I was nodding along like, yep, that's how it's done.
Okay, you can't just drop that on us without explaining. What makes a training session truly effective according to the handbook?
All right, so get this. They cover everything from having a clear objective for the session to picking the right exercises, nailing those coaching cues, the works. And they emphasize tracking athletes' progress, making adjustments as you go. It's all about constantly leveling up your coaching based on what your clients need.
So we're students of the game too, always learning.
100%. The handbook's all about that culture of continuous improvement. And not just for the athletes, for us coaches too. It's like always striving to be better.
Love that. Honestly, this deep dive has been a game changer for me. I feel like my coaching game just leveled up a few notches.
It's such a valuable resource. I tell anyone listening to grab a copy. You'll thank me later.
Without a doubt. It's like having a coaching mentor on call, 24/7.
Totally. And, becoming a better coach, it's a journey, never ends, right? Always learning, refining those skills.
Couldn't agree more. This deep dive has definitely lit a fire under me to keep learning, keep growing, keep those coaching cues sharp. And listeners, we want to hear from you. What's a coaching cue you've used that's made a real difference for your athletes? Hit us up on social media. Share those coaching wins. Until next time, keep diving deep into the world of movement and coaching.